Namaste and welcome to the show Leadership Through Communication. This is the 8th episode of this program, and we have two eminent and very senior Toastmasters with us today. We have Toastmaster Ravi Mainali, Area A2 Director, Leadership and Executive Coach, and a member of International Coach Federation. And our second guest is Toastmaster Anish Dikshit, our division mentor, as well as our distinguished club program coach and a banker by profession. Welcome to the show, Toastmaster Ravi and Toastmaster Anish.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So tell me, you being a coach by profession and you are a banker by profession, what do you really do in life, and how did you get into this thing called Toastmasters? Maybe we can start with Toastmaster Anish.
I had heard about the Toastmasters way back in 1998. I always wanted to join. I had joined one of the clubs as a guest. And when I attended that program, I saw a lot of people, they are coming on stage and they are practicing their public speaking skills. I said, wow, it's a great thing to have. And then after, out of my own hesitation and the education that I was pursuing, I did not continue. And in 2013 was the year that I joined Toastmasters. And since then, I've never looked back. Toastmasters, if you ask me personally, has helped me immensely in terms of building up my confidence, taking up leadership roles, and it also has helped me to become a self-starter or in anything that I do in life.
So you're still a banker?
Yes, professionally I am a banker, yes.
Okay. And I believe you were also a banker when you joined Toastmasters in Nepal.
Right.
What was your journey, actually?
Right. So I started Toastmasters back in 2008 in Everest Toastmasters, and I joined as a guest. Enjoyed it. Thought this was the right platform for me, and then I've been a member for around 12 years now, 12 years and running. And professionally, I'm a coach. So, there is this translation of being a better communicator, leader, and that helps me also become a better coach. You mentioned bank. I was one of the charter presidents, one of the starting of the first corporate club in Nepal, which was the Lakshmi Bank Toastmasters Club. And so I think since then, we've had several such corporate clubs which have come onto the scene.
Yeah, talking about corporate clubs, both of you are from a corporate club culture.
Yeah.
Both of you are also members, have been members of community club and corporate club. How did you find the culture of corporate club? Since you started a club, maybe you can answer first.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just to, just for the benefit of guests, community clubs are where anyone can come and join in a community. They can come from different professions, whereas a corporate club is closed to the members of that organization. So you already have your organizational culture right into the club. What people learn is the Toastmasters culture, and taking that culture into the organization, becoming a better leader, becoming a better communicator. We'll also talk about, how, for instance, giving feedback can be something that can be taken right into an organization. So I think the membership base is different, and also typically in a corporate club, you would also have your corporate culture to deal with, whereas in a community club, you are free to form your own culture.
You are a banker, you are in a corporate club in a bank.
Mm-hmm.
How is it different from any other corporate club or from a community club, a bank?
I think what the Toastmaster Club in a bank, in a corporate setting does is, for the members, is that now, apart from being a Toastmaster, that person is also by profession a banker. So if he is in sales job, then he is required to sell products. He is required to sell home loan, auto loan, and if he is in corporate, you are required to sell big loans to the clients. Or you would also require to have more deposits from the clients. So that selling skills is very important. And sometimes the banker, they lose track of selling, because it could be because of the lack of confidence, it could be because of many other different things. So what has done is, by bringing the Toastmaster into the bank and by increasing the level of confidence of the bankers, it has helped to get more business in terms of the banking perspective. So by making them more confident, they are able to sell, they are more able to make presentation about the products in a different settings. So this way also apart from helping the individual to become confident speaker, to become confident leader, it has also aligned with bank's policy and what is required out of that person in the bank.
So what you're saying, if I understand correctly, is that Toastmasters not just enhances the individual, but also helps the corporation in which the club is, especially for banks, trying getting more clients, and by developing the skill of making presentations as well as building the confidence of the employee.
Yes.
And that's a good thing, would you say? You were also mentioning something else like feedback.
Yeah, I mean, we could get into feedback, but just to add on some things that Anish said, like, so for instance, if you look at a typical corporate organization, non-profit, profit, think of like, how the communication happens. So there is, let's say, a regulation that comes, or departments have to explain something. There might be a technical presentation they have to do, or if you're in a leadership role, so that's a visionary communication that you have to do. You'd have to sit down with people and tell them, this is what we expect in the next year, or you might just have to motivate people. And then you might just have to even tell through stories. You might have tactical objectives. You might actually stand in front of people every day and say, this is what we're trying to do, or even facilitate meetings, facilitate workshops. So these are typical things that organizations are doing on a day-to-day basis. What working through this program is people get a chance to rehearse, practice, understand how to do it well, get feedback on it, and then they can then take that learning into the organization. And they're able to do a much, much better job. The feedback that we've received is that down the years, as people progress to becoming Toastmasters in a corporate world, when people speak, someone who's been a Toastmaster and someone who's not tend to stand out. And so, the fact that they've been learning tends to show up quite distinctly. And then speaking of feedback, right, I've seen somebody quit their job because of a poor feedback that their line manager gave him. So in Toastmasters, feedback is a pretty central part of being a Toastmaster. So whenever people do projects, they get feedback. And so they're told, this is how you improve, this is what you did well, but in a manner that builds their confidence and allows them to continue that journey. So that same learning, when a line manager is giving feedback to his staff on a daily basis, whether it's a quarterly performance appraisal or an annual performance appraisal, they take that skill and are able to give their staff very specific and precise instructions on how to improve, but also in a manner that allows them to retain their confidence and continue in that organization. So organizations don't lose people because of poor feedback.
So it's not just the skill that is developed, it's not just the practice that they do regarding speaking or presenting or how to deal with the clients or within the organization, but also helps to become a better supervisor, I would say. That's what I've understood.
Yeah, one of the many leadership roles.
Many of them, yes.
Yeah, what we have seen is that the bank also have these training programs, different internally, externally also. And they send people for developing leadership and communication skills. There is like 2-day, 3-day program, whether it could be within the country or it could also be outside of the country. But what we are saying is that have this Toastmaster program in your corporate club. It is not that expensive. So, and then the person, the Toastmaster, would be able to learn it every week or every fortnight basis. And there are different ways of doing it. The Toastmaster's own manual is there. So there are different areas where how you can improve, different layers, different ways of communicating, different ways of leadership. So this is also very cost effective and very enriching program for a corporate club to have within the organization.
So if a banker is saying that this is cost effective, that it must be cost effective.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Yes, I also understand that there is feedback that is given on a regular basis. So how is that going to help not just the supervisor? We just mentioned about supervisor, but the individuals how is that going to be taken forward? How does that translate into life skill, not just feedback, but other things that translates into life skills? You are a life coach also. Maybe you can elaborate more on that.
Yeah, and also I think the thing with feedback is a lot of people are engaging in an effort, whether they're giving a speech, whether they are in their leadership roles, but rarely do they get feedback on how they're doing. If it's an annual performance appraisal, it tends to be maybe so infrequent. But I think within this framework of Toastmasters, people get feedback pretty instantly, right? And not only is that feedback at a particular point in time, the mentors are going to track the feedback over a period of time. So there is a cumulative feedback. Your previous mentor said this, where are you in relation to that? And so it gets tracked and the person genuinely understands how to improve. So because it's not enough just to give feedback. So you have to say, how are you going to improve? So there is that clear communication that this is how you're supposed to improve. So in the next project, the person then goes and implements it. And so over a period of time, that feedback results in pretty quick and genuine transformation. And feedback is among the many kinds of breakfast of champions. Feedback is one of the breakfast of champions, right? Mm-hmm. And that allows people to definitely improve, because if people don't improve, they won't continue, right? And so that good quality feedback allows people to improve, and that's the benefit to the person receiving the feedback.
Yes.
Okay. I understand that the Toastmasters fraternity is increasing and expanding by the day, and it's not just now in corporate sector, it's not just now banks, but there are other clubs coming in. Would one of you like to talk about how you're improving other corporate sectors also, how you're getting into involving other sectors in Toastmasters now?
Sure, I can take it on. So, most organizations, if you look, have similar functions, right? Whether you're in the leadership roles, whether you're in the sales roles, people typically, when they start an organization, and I ask typically in organization, listen, how long will it be in your organization before you manage 25, 30, 40 people? And most typical response I get is going to take at least a decade before someone that joins an organization will be able to manage that team. Someone that joins Toastmasters, let's say, is the president. In his first year, he's responsible for managing 30, 40 people. And the first speech that the person ends up giving is outlining his vision for the club. And that's a leadership speech. So right up front, he learns how to not only give that visionary speech, but now he has to now look at, how do I build a team? How do I motivate when the attendance is low? How do I delegate? Because he can't do all of this. So all of these leadership functions gets built into his role, so that by the time, let's say, he heads a department, he's been doing this for years. Otherwise, what happens is he suddenly gets thrown into a leadership role. Typically, people are good at task management, not at people management. So when he becomes a leader, he's still managing tasks and not managing people. But if he's had practice of managing people, then he hits the ground running. So on a broader leadership role. So what the organization does is they end up building a leadership pipeline. So you have more people who are more ready to take on leadership roles. Of course, they're learning the technical skills and the industry specific product services as they're working there. But what they're really learning is the people side of things. And so that organization gets that leadership pipeline. Also with sales, people just have to stand, sell, whether it's a PowerPoint presentation, whether it's a one-on-one customer relation. So people are in this habit of communicating, expressing. Toastmasters has very specific persuasive manuals where they have to get people to act, change opinions. So as a person trying to sell, and if you're a sales department, you want people to act, right? So how do you communicate and design your message so that you get people to act, buy the product? So on these various roles, I think, and this cuts across organizations, whether it's banks, whether it's, the beverage industry, whether it's the automobile industry. So these are some functions that are transferable across industries, and that's how Toastmasters can help.
So it's not just the project that you do, but the leadership roles within the organization, within Toastmasters itself, that is going to be translating into life skills and leadership skills that specifically about people management, as you said.
Absolutely.
So have you seen anything as such in your organization also?
Yes, in terms of involvement with the Toastmaster, a person who had been giving speeches, who had been taking up the leadership roles. So whenever there is an event that's happening in the bank, and the person is handpicked to take up that challenge of running the entire event. Earlier, there used to be a time where we used to ask some professional people to take over the entire event as a MC, but now I've seen a few individuals who have really come up the ladder. They are taking up these roles on a regular basis. I've seen in larger public sector entities also someone who has been a Toastmaster and who have improved over the years. Now that person has taken up most of the important events for that entity. So as we see that, we see the success. We see a success of Toastmaster. We see a success of every one of us who are involved with Toastmasters. As we grow, we will like to see more and more people coming up.
Okay, so that's very interesting and very encouraging for corporate sector to start a club within their organization, I must say. But for members, it's just learning by doing projects, giving speech, and taking up leadership roles, or are there other avenues that are open for members to be learning from or growing? I heard there is a conference that is coming up for the District 41 that Toastmasters in Nepal is part of. Would you like to elaborate a little bit on that?
There is a Oration 2020, that's an annual district conference that's going to take place in May 2020 for four days. So that's a conference where people, where mostly Toastmasters from northern India, Nepal, Bangladesh, Bhutan, they will come together, and that's where there will be a lot of keynote speeches, there will be a lot of motivational speeches, and there will also be a competition in 4 categories: humorous, evaluation, international speech contest, which the winner would go all the way to Toastmaster International worldwide conference, worldwide competition, and a table topic category. So there are 4 categories of contest that's going to happen. So now the member would be limited to club area as of now, where the experience would be limited. But when you go beyond the country and represent Nepal in those kind of a conference, your confidence level also will increase. There will also be opportunities for meeting different people from different walks of life, different areas where people have had very prestigious positions, and they would come there, they would talk, and you'll also get a lot of information, a lot of knowledge. So that is a conference I would say that people should, and Toastmasters should attend depending upon their availability. So at present, what we are seeing is that there are already 40 plus Toastmasters who have registered to participate in Oration 2020. So we expect that number to go up to 70, 75. So there will be a huge contingent of Toastmasters going from Nepal to Delhi to attend that conference.
That's interesting, 70. There's already 32 clubs in Nepal, I believe, across, not only in Kathmandu, but also in outside of Kathmandu, in Pokhara, in Dharan, in Bhairava already, and more are coming now. I remember that Toastmaster Ravi, you had attended Oration before, or conference, district conference before. Would you like to share anything that you gained out of being in this conference that is district level?
Yeah, absolutely. I think conference gives people an opportunity to play at a bigger playing field, right? So typically people are at the club level and you're dealing with few people, but let's assume that you go and speak at an international conference, and you get this opportunity to then, speak to a larger audience. And you're just playing a game at the higher level. I think when people come back into their day-to-day life, they're just like so much more confident. They've stretched themselves, and also I think for people that participate in contests, their learning is accelerated. For instance, if you take the International Speech Contest, that goes all the way to the Toastmasters World Championship of Public Speaking. So if someone from Nepal now can get on the highway and truly participate in becoming the world champion of public speaking. What that does is, for them, when they come back to their day-to-day life, their day-to-day roles become so much more easier because now they've done a much more complicated role. And then there's networking. You're meeting with people from several countries, maybe around the world. and you're also then learning from other people. They are like keynote speakers. You're getting to learn from some of the best in the industry and some of the best in the world. And so that learning gets translated back into their day-to-day life, or some of the best practices can then be transferred onto the organizations where they work.
Okay, so it is not just the daily or weekly or fortnightly club meetings that the members will be learning from, and as we've already established from both your experiences, that the corporate clubs and the corporate organizations themselves also benefit from what the members are learning, but there is also opportunity for international exposure, international competitions, and going into World Championship of Public Speaking also. Right. Thank you both of you for having come here and shared your ideas, your experiences. I wish you all the best for the coming clubs that will be started. I hope more and more corporate clubs come into starting Toastmasters in their organization. I hope more members join you and us in going to Oration in this time in Delhi in May, I understand.
Yeah.
Thank you both for having come here.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
That was Toastmaster Ravi and Toastmaster Anish talking about their journey in Toastmasters, especially through corporate clubs, and how Toastmasters not only enhance their skill but contribute towards the organizations that they are working in. And also we talked about the opportunity that Toastmasters presents to members in going not just local but international in their learning and in the exposure as well as networking that they can experience. Thank you for having watched us today. See you again in the next episode. Namaste.